I'm Geneva. Welcome back to Defusing Anxiety, a series about making it so that anxiety doesn't mess around with your life. We have talked about how changing your thoughts and behaviors can help to break the vicious cycle that makes anxiety unhelpful. We have talked about hot thoughts, which are thoughts that cause or increase unpleasant emotions. I mentioned 3 ways of combating hot thoughts: understanding their game, changing your thinking, and holding on to your thoughts lightly. This time, I want to focus on understanding their game and changing your thinking. Last time, we talked about how one way that hot thoughts causes problems is to make us see ourselves in particular roles. These roles are the warrior, the victim, the critic, and the perfectionist. If you've been watching your hot thoughts, you will have noticed which of these roles your hot thoughts push you into, and how when you are in that role, your anxiety increases. As well as doing this, hot thoughts are often problem thinking patterns. By this, I mean they are ways of thinking that don't help us to achieve what we want and often cause unnecessary anxiety. Some of these are catastrophization. Your mind tells you the worst thing that can happen and then builds a story about how that will go from bad to worse afterwards. Filtering. You focus on the negative aspects of the situation and pay little attention to the positive aspects. All or nothing thinking, also known as black or white thinking. Believing that if things aren't perfect, they are terrible. It is either 100% right or 100% wrong. There is no gray area in between. Generalizing, concluding that a few events show you the pattern of how things will always be. Personalizing, believing that things are about you when they aren't, or that it's all your responsibility or your fault when they aren't. Mind reading, assuming that others are thinking negative thoughts about you or the things that you do. Judging/should, often quite unrealistic thoughts about what you or others should be doing. These thinking patterns set yourself up for a vicious cycle of unhelpful anxiety. So what can we do with these problem thinking patterns? Remember that our thoughts are a habit. We think how we have learned to think, and you can learn to think differently. This doesn't just mean changing your beliefs, although you can do that. It means learning to use problem thinking patterns less and replacing them with less toxic thinking patterns. Remember in the last clip, I asked you to notice which of the 4 roles your hot thoughts push you into. Because once you started to notice that, you already started to take back some of the power the hot thoughts have over you. Similarly, just by recognizing and naming your problem thinking patterns means you have started to reduce their ability to wind you up. However, you can do more. When you notice a problem thinking pattern, don't just try to push it away. Simply start to say to yourself, is there another way of thinking about this? Here are some more specific ways of dealing with each type of problem thinking pattern. Catastrophization. Remind yourself that thinking about the worst thing that can happen isn't always helpful. Ask yourself what realistically is most likely to happen. Filtering. Ask, am I wearing my gloomy specs? And look for the positives in the situation. Keep a gratitude journal to find more positives more often. All or nothing thinking. Ask, there are many shades of gray between black and white. Where on the spectrum is this? Generalizing. Ask, what is the evidence that this thought is not true? Remind yourself that we learn and can make things change. Personalizing. Ask, is it really about me? Or what is the evidence that this is about me? Remember that we are often our own hardest critic. Mind reading. Remind yourself, I assume I know what other people are thinking, but these are my thoughts, not theirs. And if what they think is important to me, I can ask them. Judging/shoulds. Ask, is making this judgment about this helpful or unhelpful to me? If you were saying I should, try playing with I could. Instead, it gives you back the choice that I should takes from you, even if you were saying it yourself. Finding alternatives to problem thinking patterns is a skill, and developing any new skill takes practice. It will be very helpful if you practice what we have talked about before you go on to the next clip. For the next few days, notice your emotions. Notice when you have an uncomfortable emotion. Stop and try and name the emotion. Say, I am feeling. Notice the hot thoughts. Think back to what your thoughts were when the emotions first started and/or what made the emotions stronger. Is the hot thoughts using any of the problem thinking patterns, like catastrophizing, filtering, all or nothing thinking, generalizing, personalizing, mind reading, or judging/shoulds? Or any other pattern that does not help you to do what you want to do with reasonable levels of anxiety. If there is a problem thinking pattern, don't feel you need to fight it or push it away. Use one of the strategies we just talked about. Or ask yourself, is there another way of thinking about this which will be more helpful? If you like, keep a journal of the emotions, the hot thoughts, the problem thinking patterns, and the new thoughts that you use to counteract the problem thinking pattern. The next clip will look at ways of changing our thinking so we live well and can stop anxiety from winding us up too far. See you next time.